Hi there, and welcome to the Career Change Hub. As promised, today I'm going to be answering a bunch of questions that people have submitted around the topic of changing career. Whether you're sort of in a place where you're thinking about actually that would be a good idea, but you're not quite sure where to start, or whether you are in the process of making a change, or planning for it. So today I've got 3 specific questions that people have asked, and if there's anybody in addition who wants to ask anything and post them in the comments, please do, and I'll answer those too. So please excuse also if you can hear any wind in the background. It's really windy here in Wales today, but I'll do my best. I've got a microphone, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So the 3 questions I'm going to cover to begin with. The first one I'm going to start with is somebody asked about how you even get started. If you really are unhappy in the career that you're in, but you don't actually know what it is you really want to do, how the hell do you figure it out? Where do you start? So I'm going to answer that question. And then also, hi David, and also 2 people have asked questions around CV. So, how do you adapt your CV for a different kind of industry or job from the one that you're currently in or have experience in? And also which career or which CV platform is best to use if you want to develop up something that looks really good. So with the first question, where do you start? How do you know, how do you figure out that all important question? What is it I really want to do? Now, in my opinion, and from the work that I've done over the years with people, there are 4 fundamental aspects to figuring out what you really want and what's going to work for you. And those 4 aspects are understanding your personal values, your strengths, your skills, and your passions. So starting with the first one, personal values. You might be wondering what on earth that is. And values are basically the way in which we need to live and work in order to be happy, in order to feel good. And everybody's different. We all have our own criteria by which we want to live our lives. And it tends to be something we don't really think about very much. We don't give much credence to it. But they're actually hugely important, particularly, I'll give you an example here. If you're somebody that values harmony, for example, but you are in a job or a workplace where there is an awful lot of conflict or a lot of it's a highly competitive environment, it's just not going to feel good to you, no matter what job you're doing. Or if you're somebody that values family, but you are having to put in, 60, 70-hour weeks, that's also probably not going to feel too good to you, not work very well. So actually identifying what your personal values are, and then using them as a framework for decision making to help you start to think about the criteria by which a new role and a new environment needs to work is going to feel great. Hi Sarah. So that's the first thing, to think about value. So have a go at writing down, the things that you really value the most, and think about what those values mean to the type of career you really want, or the type of career that's going to be good for you. The second piece of the puzzle in figuring out what it is you really want to do is identifying your strengths. And by strengths, I mean the natural talents that you possess, because we all have them. And typically we tend not to value what we're good at. We sort of assume that everybody can do those things, and therefore they're not of much consequence. But what I do with clients is I get them to take an assessment called StrengthsFinder. And it's hugely valuable. It costs about $20, but it's well worth the investment. And what StrengthsFinder does is it tells you answer a bunch of questions, and it will tell you what your top 5 strengths are. And this assessment is based on a huge body of data. Gallup, the company that developed it, interviewed over 2 million people who are at the top of their game in every industry that you can imagine, in every kind of job, to try and figure out what it was that made those individuals so successful at what they did. And when they analysed all of that data, they determined that there were 34 strengths that any one person might have. And those strengths are they're not pat things like, oh, you're really good at organizing and logistics. It's much deeper than that. And it's based on how you intuitively interact with people, with data, and with the world at large. And so they've set up an online assessment, and you do the assessment. It tells you what your top 5 are. And the purpose for doing it is that in understanding what your strengths are, if you can find a job role and a working environment that allows you to use those top strengths every single day, you're going to love it. It's going to feel really good. It's going to feel motivating because it's kind of what you do with your eyes closed. It feels good to you. And B, you're much more likely to be successful for exactly the same reasons. And when they did the research, this is what they found. These highly successful people, in every kind of role you can imagine, from the world's top basketball players to lawyers to PR people, they were using their top strengths every single day. So strengths is a really important one. The third piece of the puzzle is skills. So, over the course of your working career and indeed your personal life, you're highly likely to have picked up a huge number of skills. And what I get people to do is think about, of all the roles that you've played personally and professionally, which of your, make a list of the skills that you've developed, both hard and soft skills. And then once you've got a list, actually think about which of those skills you actually enjoy using the most. Because if you can deploy those skills in a new role, it's going to feel good. And again, it gives you some good parameters by which to start honing in on the right type of role. And then the final piece, the fourth piece of the puzzle, is passions. So, we typically get taught that passions are for playtime. They are not something that we should be thinking about in terms of our actual work, because that's difficult. Oh, hi Sarah, thanks for joining. And so, if you think about it, anybody who actually is, finds a way to incorporate things that they're passionate about into their job, your motivation will be on steroids. It's gonna feel great. And so sitting down and actually thinking about what it is you're passionate about, what are the things that absorb you, that drive and motivate you, that you lose time doing or thinking about. I get people with this to do an exercise called the Happy Box, which is available on my YouTube channel, where you basically spend a couple of weeks actually just noticing the things that light you up, that basically grab your attention, and then taking a look at what those things, when you've captured them over 2 weeks, actually mean, and whether or not you could use one or two of them, within a career path. So those are the four things: values, strengths, passions, and skills. And when you put all of that data together, it sort of forms the pieces of a puzzle, and starts to reveal a path. And at the very least gives you a really clear kind of set of parameters or criteria by which to start to cull out the ideas and job roles that might not at all be suitable for you, and start to think about the ones that might fit. So, oh, hey, Amy, nice to see you. Those are the four things to have a think about. So, take some time and write some things down and see what your own personal criteria tell you. So hopefully that's answered that question. If anyone's got any questions in relation to that, feel free to bung them in the comments. Now, the other two questions I got from people were around CV. So particularly, one person asked, how do I adapt my CV? I've been, if they've been in a particular industry or job role for a number of years, but they've got an idea and they want to move into something quite different. How do you adapt your CV for that so that, it feels credible and that you'll be taken seriously? So with this one, it's about a bit of research. So, dependent on the industry or the kind of role that you want to move into, I always get my clients to research job specifications, find some job specs online for the type of role and the industry that you want to go into. And the reason for doing it is twofold. A is to really understand what the criteria is, for anybody that would be searching for someone for that role. But B, also to understand the language that they use. How do they couch things in terms of what they're looking for, so that you can reflect that language in your CV. And you can pull out and you think about your experience. So, hey, Julia, nice to see you. So that you can think about how you take the experience that you've got and put it into the language of the role and the industry that you want to move into. So, so it reflects it. So take some time with that. It's important to do the research so that you can start to pull out, and transferable skills that you might have from any of the experience that you've had, to be able to write it in those terms. So hopefully that helps a little. The other CV question that I had was around template. So how do you actually deliver a really good looking CV? And things have changed quite a lot over the last number of years, and CVs today are much more visual than they ever were. And so, whereas before you could very easily write 2 or 3 pages of copy, in small writing to cram in as much as possible. Now it's all about, it's just as important to present the data and the information in a way that actually is easily consumable and makes you stand out. So with my clients, I get them to use something called Enhance CV. And it's a website, so www.enhancv.com. And it's a free platform that you can use it's pretty intuitive in terms of how you use it. You fill out different areas. It's got visuals that go with it to break stuff up, and you can move things around. If you want to, there's additional functionality with it. I think it's about $15 a month, but you can pay a $15, get your CV done, download it and finished, and then close it down again. So it's just that cost. But it's actually a really simple but quite powerful way of presenting a CV if you need a bit of help, because you're not necessarily a designer yourself, because I'm certainly not. So that's the platform that I use. So I hope that's been helpful. I've rattled those things out in terms of answering questions, and I don't know if anybody online has got any additional questions with, through their career change journey, or in fact you haven't started yet, but if there's anything you'd like to know, please just type away in the comments box and I'll answer anything that you like. Or alternatively, feel free to message me afterwards, and I will be delighted to help you out and answer whatever you need. So I can't see any comments in here. So if that's the case, I'll wrap up for now. But thank you for tuning in. I hope it was helpful. And good luck if you are thinking about this and thinking about moving forward and trying something new. And because it's entirely possible. From my own personal career story through to many of the clients that I work with, figuring out what you really want to do and then actually making it happen. It takes a bit of work, but it is absolutely worth it. So thanks again for watching. Thanks, guys. It was really lovely to see you all, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.